had always imagined my wedding day as something radiant, full of music and light, not this quiet, calculated masquerade. The veil that covered my face was not for beauty, it was a shield. Beneath the layers of lace and silk, my heart beat like a war drum, not out of love, but vengeance. People around me whispered about my glow, mistaking it for bridal happiness. If only they knew that the smile on my lips was sharpened like a blade, forged from years of grief. 5 years ago, my world shattered when my parents were killed in what was called an accident. A fire had consumed our family home, leaving nothing but ashes. The official report spoke of faulty wiring, but my own digging uncovered something far more sinister. Arson, planned and paid for by a man who wanted my father dead. Or so I thought. His name was Leon Mercer, a wealthy businessman with a face that graced the society pages and a reputation for ruthlessness. Every lead pointed to him. Every sleepless night I saw his face in the flames. I built my life around the idea of justice, but justice felt too soft, too slow. Revenge became my gospel. I studied his habits, his business, his weaknesses. And then, as if fate offered me a weapon, he proposed. Not directly, of course. His family and mine had long histories in the same city, and he saw in me a polished, educated young woman, a perfect bride for his carefully curated image. He did not see the ghost behind my eyes. He did not know I had been preparing for this moment since the day I buried my parents. The engagement passed in a blur of fittings, tastings, and orchestrated smiles. I played the part so well that sometimes late at night, I would stare at my reflection and almost forget who I was beneath the mask. But then I would remember my father's voice, my mother's laughter, and the smell of smoke. That memory burned away the doubts. On the morning of the wedding, my brother Ethan called. His voice was soft, hesitant. He had been my anchor since the tragedy. We grew up clinging to each other after our parents' deaths, a pair of orphans navigating a hostile world. "Are you sure about this?" he asked. "Leon Mercer isn't—" I cut him off. "He's the one, I know it. This is my chance." He was silent for a long moment before murmuring, "Just be careful." I didn't notice the tremor in his tone then, too consumed with my own plans to hear the warning behind his words. The ceremony unfolded like a dream. I walked down the aisle in a cathedral lit by sunlight pouring through stained glass. Leon stood at the altar, tall, elegant, every inch the powerful man society adored. His smile was flawless, but to me it was the grin of a predator. I thought of how he had taken everything from me. I thought of how he would soon pay. When we exchanged vows, I laced mine with poison. Not literal, but words crafted to bind him, to lull him, to promise devotion while my heart plotted destruction. The guests applauded. Cameras flashed. Somewhere in the back row, Ethan sat with a stony expression, watching. At the reception, I played my role, dancing with Leon, laughing at his jokes, leaning into his arm. Beneath the table, my hands trembled with adrenaline. My plan was simple: get close, gain his trust, and then dismantle his empire from within. I had already planted the first seeds, aligning myself with his competitors, gathering evidence of his crimes. In a few months, he would be ruined. But as the evening wore on, strange things began to happen. An elderly woman I didn't recognize approached me and whispered, "You don't know the truth, child." Before I could ask her anything, she disappeared into the crowd. I chalked it up to the stress of the day, but a chill ran down my spine. Later, in the limousine on the way to the hotel for our wedding night, Leon turned to me with a curious expression. "You're trembling," he said softly. "Are you nervous?" I forced a smile. "Of course. It's a big night." He studied me for a moment longer, his eyes unreadable, then nodded. "You're beautiful," he murmured, brushing a hand across my cheek. The gesture was tender, but I felt only disgust. How dare he touch me with the same hands that had burned my life to the ground? The hotel suite was a palace of champagne and silk sheets. I excused myself to the bathroom, locking the door and gripping the marble sink until my knuckles whitened. This was it, the beginning of my endgame. I had vowed to make him pay, and I would. Yet, As I stared into the mirror, a strange unease stirred. Something about Leon tonight had felt off. Not the arrogance I had expected, but something almost like caution. As though he, too, was hiding something. I opened my clutch and pulled out the small USB drive, evidence of his alleged crimes, bank transfers, and coded emails I had intercepted. Tomorrow I would leak it all to the press. Tomorrow the world would see him for what he was. But tonight, I had to play my part. When I emerged from the bathroom, Leon was sitting at the edge of the bed, loosening his tie. He looked up at me with an expression I couldn't quite decipher. "You remind me of someone," he said softly. "Someone who used to look at me with the same eyes." I tilted my head. "Who? Your brother?" he said. "Ethan," my breath caught. "What are you talking about?" He smiled faintly. "He came to me once. About the fire. About your parents. He wanted money to keep quiet. He said it was his only way out." The room spun. "You're lying." Leon shook his head. "I'm not. I've done many terrible things in my life. But that fire wasn't mine. Ask your brother." I backed away, heart hammering. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. He was the villain. He was the monster. Not Ethan. Never Ethan. Leon stood, his voice low and even. "Before you destroy me, you should know who really lit the match." The champagne fizzed silently in its crystal bucket, bubbles rising like ghosts. The walls seemed to close in. I thought of Ethan's call that morning, his warning, his tremor. I couldn't breathe, and then my phone buzzed. A message from Ethan. "We need to talk. Alone. Before you do something you'll regret." I looked up at Leon. His face was solemn, almost pitying. "I'm not your enemy," he said quietly. In that moment, the veil I had been wearing since the fire began to slip. The plan I had built on certainty now trembled on the edge of doubt. I thought I had known everything. I thought my path was clear. But as I stood there in my wedding dress, staring at the man I had vowed to destroy, a single terrible question rose in my mind. What if I had married the wrong enemy? The hotel suite was heavy with silence after Leon's words. I stood there in my wedding gown, my chest rising and falling in ragged breaths, clutching my phone like it was a lifeline. The message from Ethan glowed on the screen. "We need to talk. Alone. Before you do something you'll regret." The text blurred as my vision swam. My mind screamed at me to stay focused. This was Leon, the man who had destroyed my family. But a quiet, growing voice whispered, "What if he's telling the truth?" I forced myself to sit at the edge of the bed, the silk fabric of my dress whispering against my skin. "You're lying," I said again, but the conviction in my voice was gone. "You have every reason to smear my brother. You know I'm after you." Leon's eyes softened. "I have reasons to hate many people, but your brother isn't one of them. He came to me after the fire. He wanted money. He told me things that chilled me to the bone." I swallowed hard. "What things?" "That the fire wasn't an accident. That he started it himself." I stared at him, mouth open. No, he would never." "He said he didn't mean for it to go that far," Leon continued quietly. "That it was supposed to scare your father, not kill him. But your mother was home. He told me he panicked. I didn't believe him at first, but then he showed me proof. Things only someone inside your family would know." I pressed my hands to my ears. Stop talking." Leon's voice dropped to a whisper. "I'm not telling you this to hurt you. I'm telling you because I think he's using you. I think he's setting you up to destroy me while he walks away clean." The room tilted like a ship in a storm. I had built my entire life on the foundation of one truth. Leon Mercer killed my parents. That truth had given me purpose, had shaped every choice I'd made. Without it, who was I? I stumbled to my feet. "I need to go." Leon didn't move to stop me. "You deserve the truth," he said simply. I grabbed my coat and fled the suite, my veil trailing like a ghost behind me. The hotel corridor spun with light and sound, my heels clicking like gunshots on the marble floor. My hands shook as I dialed Ethan's number. He answered on the second ring. "Where are you?" "Downstairs," I said. My voice was trembling. "Meet me." Minutes later, he appeared in the lobby, still in the dark suit he'd worn to the ceremony. He looked the same as he always had, calm, protective, his eyes soft with concern. "You shouldn't be here," he said, taking my elbow. "People will see you." I pulled away. "What did you do?" His face flickered. "What are you talking about?" "Don't," I snapped. Leon told me everything. About the fire? About you going to him after? A muscle in his jaw twitched. "He's lying. You can't believe a word that man says." "Then why are you sweating?" I demanded. He didn't answer. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "Tell me it isn't true. Tell me you didn't do it." Ethan's eyes darted to the side. "It wasn't supposed to happen that way," he whispered finally. The words sliced through me. "I just wanted to scare Dad," he went on, his voice cracking. He was going to cut me out of everything. He was going to expose me. I was drowning in debt. I thought, if I set a small fire in the workshop, he'd pay attention, he'd give me what I needed. But Mom came home early. She wasn't supposed to be there. My knees buckled. The hotel's grand chandelier glittered above us like shattered glass. "You killed them," I breathed. "You killed them both." "I didn't mean to," he hissed. I tried to stop it, but it was too late. I lost everything that night, too. I backed away. "You didn't lose everything. You had me. You let me believe it was Leon. You let me build my whole life around revenge, and you watched." He reached for me. "I was protecting you." "Protecting me?" I choked out a laugh. "You were protecting yourself." People were starting to stare. Ethan grabbed my arm and steered me toward a side door, his grip iron. "We can't do this here," he said under his breath. "Not in front of them." I yanked my arm free, but he pulled harder. "Let me go!" I cried. "No," he hissed. "You don't understand what's at stake." We spilled out into the alley behind the hotel. The city roared around us, neon lights flashing, car horns blaring. Rain slicked the pavement, making it gleam like a mirror. Ethan's face was a mask of desperation. "Listen to me. Leon is dangerous. He'll twist you. He'll make you think." "He didn't have to twist anything," I snapped. "You confessed." He pressed his hands to his head. I tried to fix it. I went to him for money to keep quiet because I didn't know what else to do. I thought if I could just pay off the right people, we'd be okay. "You'd be okay. You lied to me," I whispered. "You let me marry him thinking I was avenging our parents when all this time—" "I couldn't tell you," he said, tears in his eyes. "You would have hated me. You would have turned me in. Maybe I still will." His head snapped up. "What? I can't let you get away with this," I said. "They deserve justice." "I deserve justice." His expression hardened. "You don't know what you're saying." "I know exactly what I'm saying," I replied. "For 5 years I've been living for revenge, and now I finally know who deserves it." He stepped toward me, eyes dark. "If you tell anyone, you'll destroy both of us." "Maybe that's what needs to happen," I said. For a moment, neither of us moved. The rain drummed on the pavement. Somewhere a siren wailed. Then Ethan smiled. A slow, chilling smile I'd never seen before. "You think you're in control," he murmured. "But you're not. You're just a piece on the board, and I'm the one moving the pieces." Fear surged through me. "What are you talking about?" He leaned close. "Leon was just the beginning. There are things you don't know, deals you can't imagine. If you cross me, I'll take you down too." I stared at him. My brother. The boy who had once held my hand at our parents' funeral. I didn't recognize him. "You're a monster," I whispered. He straightened, his smile fading. "No, I'm a survivor. And so are you, if you're smart enough to stay on my side." I backed away, my mind racing. I had thought my marriage to Leon was my weapon, but now I saw it was my shield, and without it I was naked before a predator I had never suspected. I turned and ran. I didn't know where I was going. Back to Leon, to the police, to anywhere but here. Rain plastered my hair to my face, smeared my makeup, soaked my gown. My heels slipped on the wet pavement, but I didn't stop. Behind me, Ethan called my name once, then again, his voice echoing in the alley. I didn't look back. I burst out onto a busy street, cars honking as I darted across. People stared at the bride running through the rain, but I didn't care. My life had been a lie, and now it was burning again. hotter than the fire that had started it all. Somewhere behind me, Ethan's footsteps echoed. He was following me. I ducked into a subway entrance, tearing off my veil and throwing it aside. My reflection flashed in the grimy tiles. A woman transformed, not a bride, but a fugitive. I clutched the USB drive in my pocket, my only leverage left. If Leon's files were true, they could still ruin him, but now they were also my only bargaining chip against Ethan. As the train roared into the station, I stepped aboard, heart pounding. I didn't know where I was headed, but I knew one thing. The war I had been waging against Leon was nothing compared to the war I was about to wage against my own brother. And this time, there would be no misunderstandings. The subway rattled and clanged as it sped through the tunnels, and I sat in the corner of the car, trembling. My wedding gown was a sodden heap of silk and lace clinging to my body. My mascara had bled into black rivers down my cheeks, but I didn't care. People stared at me, the runaway bride, but no one asked questions. I clutched the USB drive so tightly my fingers ached. For 5 years, I had believed this tiny piece of plastic was the key to my vengeance. It held everything I'd gathered on Leon Mercer: secret accounts, shady deals, coded messages. But now it had become something more: leverage. A weapon I could use not just against Leon, but against Ethan, if I dared. The train lurched to a stop. I stumbled out at a random station and climbed the stairs to the street. Cold air hit me, carrying the smell of wet asphalt and gasoline. My phone buzzed again. Ethan. I ignored it. Another buzz. Leon. I hesitated, then answered. "Where are you?" His voice asked, calm but tight. "Gone," I said. "You were right." A pause. "He told you?" I closed my eyes. He confessed. "I'm sorry," Leon said softly. "Don't be," I snapped. "I married you to destroy you. Now I don't know who to destroy." "Come back to the suite," he said. "We need to talk." "I'm not going back there," I said. "Not until I figure out what's real." Another pause. "Then meet me somewhere public. A cafe. Anywhere. But don't be alone with him. He's not who you think he is." I hung up. My head was spinning. I ducked into a small, dimly lit cafe on the corner, leaving a trail of water behind me. The barista stared but said nothing as I ordered tea and sat at a corner table. My hands shook as I typed a message to Leon with the address. Minutes later, the bell over the door jingled and Leon walked in. He looked different now, no longer the polished tycoon from the altar, but a man stripped down to raw edges. His tie was gone, his hair damp from rain. He slid into the seat opposite me. "You look like hell," he said gently. "Thanks," I muttered. We sat in silence for a moment, the air between us thick with everything unsaid. Finally I spoke. "Tell me everything. No games, no riddles. Just the truth," he nodded slowly. "Your father and I were business rivals. He undercut me on deals, tried to push me out. But I never wanted him dead. The night of the fire, I was at a gala. I have witnesses. The next morning, Ethan came to me. He said your father was going to ruin him, cut him off financially, expose some gambling debts. He begged me for money to keep quiet about what he'd done." "And you paid him?" Leon's jaw tightened. "At first, yes. I thought if I helped him, he'd leave me alone. But he kept coming back, demanding more. Finally, I cut him off. That's when he started planting evidence to make you think it was me." My stomach turned. "And you just let me come after you?" "I didn't know until recently," Leon said. "I thought your sudden interest in me was genuine. When I found out you'd been digging into my accounts, I put the pieces together. I didn't want to hurt you. I wanted to warn you." I stared at him. "Why? What do you care?" His eyes held mine. "Because I've lost enough in my life. I don't want to see you lose everything too." I looked down at the USB drive in my hand. "This was supposed to ruin you." "It still could," he said quietly. "But now you know who the real enemy is." A shadow fell across the table. I looked up. Ethan. He stood there in the doorway, rain dripping from his coat, his expression unreadable. "Hello, sister," he said softly. Leon stood, but Ethan raised a hand. "Sit, both of you." Something in his voice made me obey. Ethan slid into the chair next to me, his smile tight. "You two look cozy," he said. Planning something without me? Stop it, I said. It's over. I know what you did, his smile flickered. What exactly do you think you know? You killed them, I whispered. You killed Mom and Dad. He sighed, leaning back. I told you, it wasn't supposed to happen that way. But since we're all being honest now. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small pistol, setting it on the table. I can't let either of you ruin me. My heart stopped. Ethan, shh, he said. You had your chance to stay on my side. You could have been rich, safe, but you had to go digging. You had to marry him. Leon's hands were on the table, palms up. Think about what you're doing, he said quietly. Ethan's eyes were wild. I've been thinking about it for 5 years. I stared at my brother, the boy who had once built tree houses with me, who had held me when I cried. You don't have to do this, I said. I do, he said simply. In that moment, something inside me hardened. I had lived my life chasing vengeance like it was oxygen. I had built myself into a weapon. Now, facing the true killer, I realized vengeance wasn't about who I hated. It was about who I chose to become. I moved before I could think, grabbing the teapot and hurling the boiling liquid at his hand. He yelped, the gun clattering to the floor. Leon lunged across the table, tackling him. Chairs crashed. People screamed. I scrambled for the gun, my fingers closing around the cold metal. I stood, shaking, aiming it at my brother. Ethan, I said, my voice breaking. It's over. He froze, blood dripping from a cut on his forehead. You won't shoot me, he said. You're my sister. I'm the sister you betrayed, I said. The one you used. His eyes darted to the door, calculating. If you turn me in, I'll take you down with me. All your little schemes, your evidence on Leon, it all ties back to you. I steadied the gun. Then we both go down. For a moment, he looked almost like the boy I remembered. Scared, lost, small. Please, he whispered. I'm all you have left. I lowered the gun slightly. My hands trembled. He was right. He was all I had left. But he was also the man who had destroyed my life. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had called the police. Leon stepped between us, his hands raised. You don't have to decide now, he said softly. Put the gun down. I looked at Leon, then at Ethan. 2 men, 2 enemies. One who had taken everything from me by deceit. One I had tried to destroy by mistake. My whole life had been leading to this moment. Slowly, I placed the gun on the table. I'm done, I whispered. No more lies, no more vengeance. Ethan blinked. What are you? I reached into my dress pocket and pulled out the USB drive, tossing it onto the table. This is everything. Every crime, every deal. I'm giving it to the police. Both of you can answer for what you've done. His face twisted in fury. You stupid! The cafe doors burst open. Police flooded in, guns drawn. Hands where we can see them? Ethan tried to bolt, but Leon grabbed him, holding him until the officers cuffed him. As they led him away, he looked back at me, his eyes burning. You'll regret this, he hissed. I sagged against the wall, trembling. Leon approached me slowly. You did the right thing, he said. I laughed weakly. Then why does it feel like I've lost everything? Because vengeance always takes more than it gives, he said. I looked at him, the man I had married to destroy. What happens now? He smiled faintly. Now you start over, without lies, without revenge. Outside, dawn was breaking, pale light spilling over the wet streets. I stepped out of the cafe and breathed it in, the air cold and clean. For the first time in 5 years, I felt the weight lifting. I didn't know what my future would be. A widow, a felon's sister, a survivor. But I knew this. I had faced the truth, and I had chosen not to become my brother. I walked away from the cafe, from Leon, from the wreckage of my life, the wedding gown trailing behind me like a shed skin. For the first time, I wasn't walking toward revenge. I was walking toward myself,